So this is part 42. So basically I ended part 41 on the note that, you know, there can be church people watching the messages in your phone if they're not listening via devices. And or it could be officers connected to some church people. You know, people have connections, whatever. So I believe that Christopher Delgado, if it's really Christopher Delgado, because some of those messages is like, you're 37 and you are responding like that. But anyway, those messages, if you look at it, it's supposed to make me feel a certain way. And I don't believe in it. It could be a message that was sent or intercepted or sent some via way from somebody else. But for now, we're going to have to look at it as it's a message from Christopher Delgado. It came from his phone. And so one of the things that would do if they see that message, you're supposed to walk like, you know, if people find out, like you're supposed to walk in shame. But I don't have shame because like I brought this whole thing to God and whatever, he led me to certain scriptures. And one of the scriptures he did lead me to, especially after that happened on Saturday, April 11th. Being led to John 16. These things have I spoken unto you, that ye should not be offended. They shall put you out of the synagogue, yea, the time cometh that whosoever killeth you will think he doeth God service. And these things will they do unto you, because they have not known the Father nor me. So basically, it's almost trying to set me up for people to like reject me, right? But if you haven't read my messages or my emails, you may run with that text message and feel a sense of shame, like you must hang your head low or something. No, absolutely not. I don't believe in feeling shame for things that you shouldn't feel ashamed for. So if you put two and two together, he probably vindictively, whoever sent that message, vindictively sent it because my emails to PTA were very honest. And obviously it must have hit him in some way, shape, or form, because guess what? He must have realized something that he did to me was wrong. And so he probably didn't want people to find out. So that's pretty much what it is. So if you can manipulate a situation by saying certain things, and that's what some people do. I mean, you've heard that individual in the background. So that people would just reject, and it's for stupid reasons. It's not godly reasons. It's because somebody's lusting. You know, they're lusting to create a reject. But I went through my emails and I'm like, there's nothing for anybody to be disgusted about. But then look at the word that he used. Look at the word that he used. It reminded me of this movie I saw with a classmate. 2002. It's called Red Dragon. And if you could see a bit like of what it looks like. Red Dragon. So it's 2002. And I basically saw it with another classmate. And it was just basically the part where the mother, I guess he must have peed the bed or something, and the mother's response to it was like so condescending and just belittling and insulting. It sounded something like this, but it's not verbatim. You nasty, disgusting, dirty, filthy. And all of that went into the making of trying to create a psychopath. Basically created a serial killer or something like that. No, I will not be a serial killer. No, I will not be a psychopath with my mind. I will serve the Lord and glorify God. And I will walk in the love of God. But I'm looking at that, and that's the type of insults, like the blasphemous spirit that hurls out insults in the book of Revelation. And so it's, you say that, and it's almost as if the individual wants to control you by saying that word, because naturally women, especially if they're in a relationship or they know, in my case, that that's your God-given spouse, you want to be pleasing, you know? And so God would lead me to, hey, you see that kind of message and that kind of response, it's like to put you out, to make you seem like you're not accepted. So God already told me before, these things have I spoken unto you. So God already told me before about Christopher Delgado. And even if that wasn't literally him, God already helped me to understand Christopher Delgado and unbelief and hardened heart and rejection and all that kind of stuff. So God already helped me. But if somebody was to see that, it's like, you know, it could turn hearts and turn heads. But to speak like that the next day and then change your mind, I don't know. If it truly was Christopher Delgado, which I believe to some degree, one of the things, to some degree, but I still, like, really, 37? And so anyway, one of the things that you have to be careful of is, like, when you're, I'll say this, when you're angry and you have wizard devices, the evil angel and through the wizard on the devices will speak to you and speak to you or the wife or the church in such a condescending manner. And these words will try to mold someone to be a psychopath, to hate themselves, hate people, go out and shoot. So I'm not about that life. So with the knowledge of God and having the God lead me to certain things, and just already knowing about Christopher, and just already knowing this word, the knowledge on, you know, the wizards on the devices trying to make psychopaths and all of that kind of criminals and whatever. Having that wisdom already and knowledge, it's like you can see the word that was used and how it was used for what it is, and not internalize it. Because the only thing that I can say why if it was him, why he would feel like that is because he must have been ashamed of his ways. And he probably worked to look perfect in front of the church or in front of people, certain people in the church. So, because on the topic of virginity, he was asking me if I was a virgin. I never asked him. I never really had it in my mind to be focused on that, or like whether you are or not, it doesn't. I never really cared at that point, my younger self. But if he was to say it on the devices, then he probably would not like how people would look at him. And then another scripture I'm led to, and I did mention Hebrews 13 verse 4. And it was on the topic of, I guess the messages that I sent to PTA and Christopher Delgado's reaction and whatever. And so Hebrews 13 verse 4, the marriage bed is honorable and undefiled, but whoremongers and adulterers God will judge. So I don't know if anybody started judging him on the matter or started looking at him in a certain way because of it, but that was never my intention. My intention is to be 100 and to reach out to him and get closure on the matter. But, I mean, Pastor Francis, even when I tried to reach out to her before I sent the emails, she wasn't really helping me. And maybe because whatever with Simona didn't work out. But this is something that can happen. And if he flake because of emails that basically show him up, and I didn't go into great details about other things, then he has a personal problem that needs counseling, because there's nothing for me to feel ashamed of. Nothing. Sin is sin. You can look at sin and say, hey, it was wrong. But look at how he responds, if that's even him. And then the whole cut contact fixation agenda. So, and then the conversation the day before is like, he was almost trying to find an excuse for us to separate in 2017, saying something. First he said he didn't remember, then he said it's probably too much arguing or whatever. And that was to some degree, but not verbatim. And that was not true. Because between January and March 7th, we really didn't have any arguments. So he must have not liked himself being shown up. And so he responds to me like that in a vindictive way. And then blocks me immediately, which was kind of worse than before, And so it's like, oh, people watch our messages and you're going to send a text like that. So I got some inspiration to get the burner numbers. And I found a way to express myself and get those messages in his phone. And get certain messages in his phone. So, basically, listen, if you don't have a willing heart to be faithful and do God's will, that's one thing. But then to try to attack the individual that's just being honest and is about God's will, no, you're not going to make me mentally ill or crazy. And God is right. He's right with me. God shall help me, and that right early. God is with me. I shall not be moved, especially not from this truth that I received. Because they like to work on doing all sorts of things. That's whatever Satan can do in the world to try to make this impression that you should be moved. I will not be moved. I will be faithful to God's vision, whether he likes it or not. But they'll do all this. But God is faithful. God is loyal. So that's the type of stuff that an adulterer or whoever that hates me being with Chris would do, still an adulterous spirit. And that's how they would talk. Where's the graciousness? Where's the graciousness of God? So, that's pretty much it. Oh, that's pretty much it on this topic. With my mind, I serve the Lord, and God is that light that helps you to see through those high places of darkness, spiritual wickedness in high places. So I have peace, but this is how the adversary can work to try to put you in adultery, try to make you think this could not be. But once God spoke, that's it. So it's good to know before you go, so you can be mentally strong, because the adversary likes to work on your mental health. Consider what he did to Adam, to Eve. Consider what he did to Eve. And so be aware of that. Do I forgive him? Yes, I forgive him. For he knows not what he does or what he did. And that's the bottom line. This is what it looks like. That's what communication looks like. If you have adulterers or wizards or sorcerers that don't like you, don't like God, don't like you being in your God-given marriage, this is what it sounds like. This is what it looks like. But God is greater. So Florida can carry on, but God allowed me to go to Hawaii and Dubai, strengthen me. And he is with me, and he's still my strength, no matter what they put out there. And that's the bottom line. And they will mock. They will mock, just like they mocked Jesus when he was on the cross. They will mock because they don't see the judgment of the Lord coming yet. And they don't understand certain things. So they will mock. That's one of the things they will do with their mouth. But God can always comfort you, strengthen your mind, help you to not pay attention to what they're saying, and keep you and preserve you from evil, and give you a sound mind. Because with all that they do on these devices, you can understand why some people will go crazy. And that's